The Corolla E100 was the seventh generation of cars sold by Toyota under the Corolla nameplate. This generation of Corolla was larger, heavier, and visually more aerodynamic than the model it replaced, with development chief Dr. Akihiko Saito wanting to develop a mini-Lexus, after success with that range's flagship. With its 24-65mm wheelbase, the Corolla had moved into the compact size class once occupied by the Corona and Camry. The Corolla had an equivalent model Sprinter, with the Sprinter Trueno being equivalent to the Corolla Levin. Japan. The standard Corolla model range included the 3-door hatchback Corolla FX, 4-door sedan and 5-door station wagon models. Also returning in this generation was the 2-door coupe copyright Corolla Levin. A 4WD variant of the sedan and station wagon was also available with a 1.6-litre petrol or 2.0-litre diesel engine. The 4-door pillared hardtop Corolla Series and Sprinter Trueno were introduced in 1992. They bore no real exterior resemblance but feature the chassis and most of the engine range of the standard Corollas, and used the Levin Trueno dashboard. Minor facelift changes were introduced in May 1993. These included a new grille, a reconfiguration of the rear lamps and various bits of trim and garnish. The E100 sedan and hatchbacks introduced in 1991 lasted until the introduction of the E110 in May 1995. Van and business wagon models were basically stripped-out wagons with leaf-sprung solid-axle rear suspensions. Business wagons typically had slightly higher equipment levels than simpler vans. Both versions continued to serve the commercial vehicle market well into 2002, outliving the mainstream E110 models in Japan. It was succeeded by the Probox. Japanese market manual Transaxles, C144 meters per ton, C55 meters per ton, C51 5 meters per ton, C52 5 meters per ton, C56 5 meters per ton, C166 meters per ton, S55 meters per ton, E59F 5 meters per ton, E55F 5 meters per ton, Japanese market automatic Transaxles, A240L 4 areas per ton, A254E 4 areas per ton, A246E 4 areas per ton, A241L 4 areas per ton, A132L 3 areas per ton, A241H 4 areas per ton. Japanese market chassis. The following list is not complete or inclusive. EE101 a Euro 1.3 L4 EFE sedan, hatchback. EE102 a Euro 1.3 L4 EFE van. EE103 a Euro 1.5 L5 EFE van. EE104 a Euro 1.5 L5 EFE business wagon. EE106 a Euro 1.3 L2 E-van. EE107 a Euro 1.5 L3 E-van. EE108 a Euro 1.6 L3 E-business wagon. AE100 a Euro 1.5 L5 AFE sedan, coupe copyright, and wagon. AE101 a Euro 1.6 L sedan, FX hatchback, wagon, hardtop series, and coupe copyright. AE104 a Euro 1.6 L sedan 4WD and touring wagon 4WD, AE109 a Euro 1.6 L van 4WD, CE100 a Euro 2.0 L diesel sedan and touring wagon. CE101 a Euro 2.2 L diesel touring wagon. CE102 a Euro 2.2 L diesel business wagon. CE104 a Euro 2.0 L diesel sedan 4WD, CE105 a Euro 2.2 L diesel van 4WD, CE106 a Euro 2.0 L diesel van. CE107 a Euro 2.2 L diesel van. CE108 a Euro 2.0 L diesel business wagon. CE109 a Euro 2.0 L diesel van 4WD. Asia. In the Philippines, the Corolla is nicknamed as the Big Body. 3 variants of the Big Body were sold, XL and XE with 1.3-litre carbureted engines, with the latter enjoying extra features like power steering, alloy wheels, digital clock and tachometer, and the GLE, with a 1.6-litre fuel-injected motor. The top model was offered in both manual and automatic transmissions. The Corolla Big Body was also the first 1.6-liter car to introduce 14-inch alloy wheels to the country in 1992. Other pioneer features that followed were rear seat belts, front cup holders and a driver's airbag. ABS followed during its later years. The Corolla sedan is nicknamed the Great Corolla in Indonesia. Initially the trim levels were 1.3 SE and 1.6 SEG. The smaller engine model was replaced by 1.6 SE in 1994. The 1.3 XLI, 1.5 GLE sedan, wagon, and Levin 1.5 SJ Coupe copyright were sold in Hong Kong. North America. In North America, the Corolla was new for the 1993 model year. It had different headlights, grille, bumpers and trunk garnish for the base and DX sedans. The base model came with the 1.6-liter 4AFE engine. The DX, LE and wagon came with the 1.8-liter 7AFE. The 1993 and 1994 versions of the 7AFE engine were rated at 86 kilowatts, later versions rated at 78 kilowatts mainly due to differences of the intake shape. Every model has fully independent suspension, front disc brakes and rear drum brakes. The LE has sporty front seats and was available in the US with AT only or available in Canada with either AT or MT. Minor changes occurred for the 1996 model year. Among these changes, the DX received bright red clear tail lights and rear garnish, and new wheel covers. The base model and CE sedan came with restyled grey plastic trunk garnish. Sporty Corollas and 4WD Corollas were no longer imported during this generation. Some 1993 Corolla sedans sold were also produced in Japan, due to factory delays. All of the wagons were produced at the Tokuoka plant in Japan. In 1997, the DX wagon was dropped, but a special CE sedan was offered and it incorporated a number of popular features in one value-priced package. Among the standard goodies were power windows and locks, AC, power steering, a 4-speaker stereo, manual remote mirrors and special floor mats and exterior badging. All models received additional side impact protection to meet new federal standards. And for the first time, during '97, all the Corollas sold in the United States were built in North America at the NUMMI plant in Fremont, California and the TMMC plant in Canada. By the end of the 1997 model year, the Corolla had become the best-selling nameplate in automotive history, overtaking the VW Beetle. The Cooper copyright was dropped for North America, replaced by the Paseo. North American market chassis codes, AE101 a Euro sedan 4-door with 1.64 AFE, AE102 a Euro sedan 4-door and wagon 5-door with 1.87 AFE. South America, 1993 model year Canadian spec Corollas from Japan were sold in Chile because no Latin American models met emission standards by then. They featured a higher trim than most of its rivals at the time, since they all came with standard driver side airbag, larger bumpers, polycarbonate headlamp lenses. For the 1994 model year, a lower trim model was sold instead. The Corolla sedan is nicknamed the Baby Camry in Venezuela. In Peru and Bolivia, gray market imports from Japan are still highly popular. In Brazil, official imports began in late 1992. Europe. The 5-door Sprinter was sold as the Corolla Sprinter in some markets in Europe, and simply the Corolla Liftback in others. The 3- and 5-door Corolla hatchback was also sold in Europe, where it took the lion's share of Corolla sales. It was available mostly in normal specs unlike the 3-door only FX range available in Japan, although some mildly hot models were also marketed. In Europe, the hatchback sold better than the sedan and estate. Although basically the trim levels are base, XLI and GLE, there was also the GS. The GS featured a fully color-coded exterior and with full electrics and a tilt-slide steel sunroof. It also had an upgraded interior with white dials and a rev counter. In UK the Corolla was marketed as S, CD, and CDX. A few select, rare models featured the 1.8 L7 AFE engine, including the 1.8 GXi 3-door hatchback in the UK, and the 1.8 XLi 4WD estate in certain markets. The sedan has its rear license plate mounted on the trunk lid as opposed to the bumper on other region models. In Europe's largest national auto market, the E100 sustained the Corolla's reputation for reliability and economy. In 1995 it topped the small family car class in a reliability survey of 4 to 6-year-old cars undertaken by the German Automobile Association, with 5.3 recorded breakdowns per 1,000 cars for 4-year-old cars and 10.1 for 6-year-old cars, this compared with 12.0 breakdowns per 1,000 cars for 4-year-old Volkswagen Golfs and 21.8 for 6-year-old Golfs. European market chassis, EE100 a Euro 1.3 L2E, EE101 a Euro 1.3 L4 FA, AE101 a Euro 1.6 L4 FA, AE102 a Euro 1.8 L7 FA, AE103 a Euro 1.8 L7 AFE 4WD, CE100 a Euro 2.0 L2C diesel. Australia, New Zealand. In late 1992, New Zealand assembled E100 Corollas were introduced to the New Zealand market. These vehicles were assembled at Toyota's Thames factory. Trim levels consisted of 1.3L XL, 1.6L GL, 1.6L GS, and 1.8L GLX, and were available in sedan, 5-door hatchback, 5-door liftback, and 5-drive wagon. During 1994, the E100 Corolla became the first Toyota model to be built at the new Altona plant. This model came in hatchback and sedan variants. The trim levels consisted of 1.6L XE, 1.6L and 1.8L CSX, 1.8L Conquest, sporty 1.8L RV and the top-of-the-range 1.8L Ultima. Special edition models were included in the model lineup, and between 1994 and 1996 Toyota also imported the 5-door liftback Sprinter model. In 1999, production of the E100 Corolla in Australia was terminated and Toyota Australia returned to Japanese imports, this time model AE112R. References